I'm Dane Rose, and in this video we'll explore the moment in time, the point on the continuum, when our life shifts from its default position, which is constructive, positive, goal-oriented, future and present-oriented, to destructive, to fear, to avoiding pain and looking in the rear view window. So first of all, to understand this kind of continuum of perspective, we start with the circle. And here we are within the circle, right? And we can see in all directions. We could drive a car, for example, looking out the rear view mirror. We wouldn't see what's coming, but we would see what has been. It is one way to navigate. You could project the past onto the future, which is what most of us do. But there's a moment in time when that shift occurs, when we stop looking with excitement out the windshield and start looking out the rear view mirror to avoid the pains that we don't want to re-experience. So first of all, let's go through a brief kind of overview of the maturation process, starting with infancy. So birth itself in our culture is a somewhat traumatic event, right? Blasting lights in a hospital, loud beeping noises that have nothing to do with a child's sensitive hearing. Can you imagine seeing and hearing for the first time and being struck by the cacophony of noise in a hospital? It's a barbaric situation. I've spent one night in a hospital and was kept up all night by loud beeping, by jostling, by moving shapes. It's like, how can you calm down in that environment? I couldn't, right? And they kept saying, get some sleep, and then waking me up. The entire thing was schizophrenic, right? And that's what a baby is born into. That cacophony of light and noise by giant strangers. It has no basis to attune to. And there's the clipping of the umbilical cord, there's the moving around, there can be drugs pumped into the mother, forced delivery, all kinds of things that let the child know that maybe the world they're coming into is not all, beauty, tenderness, and competence. So that's a beginning. And we're born into kind of two-person families where the mother and the father are both supposed to work, have to be equal, right? And in most cases, in our culture, there aren't grandparents and great-grandparents and uncles all living in a family compound waiting to love and adore that child. In that context, the child is inconvenient for a two-person family where both people are working. The child is a major expense, is a major surprise, and suddenly all of the things that the parents didn't know that they didn't know are all flooding, they're coming on a daily basis faster than the parent can respond, which often brings the parent to a pain point of rage, of despair, of depression, of violence. Right? It's like, it's too much, too fast, too painful, get this away from me. And that message, of course, transfers to the child. Right? The child may not have physical or verbal language, but they've got visual and auditory language. They've got sensate language, right? And if the parent is a bit rough, if the parent is squinting and rage, the child understands those are contracting experiences, and a self-centered child, as all children are, makes it all about them. I'm enraging, Mom. I'm depressing mom. I'm making mom rough, right? It's all about me, says the child. And so this language of what am I doing wrong? I've got to figure it out becomes, built in as, a stress point. But somewhere along this process, the pain, the trauma will get to such a point in a person's life when the view forward flips from I want to be happy, I want to learn something, I want to go cuddle with mom, I want to graduate college and get a great job, I want to do all these things out there, I like this food, I like that. It switches from that to I have to do whatever I have to do to never feel this pain again. I never want to feel this helpless. I never want to feel this small. I never want to feel this useless. I never want to feel this hated. I never want to feel so much shame, so much confusion, so much craziness, so much shock, so much pain, so much loneliness. I never want to feel that way again. And that's a very fundamental statement. I never want to feel this way again. What do I have to do to never, ever feel this way again? And that's really the pivot point, right? So, pain is on a continuum, right? So we can draw this continuum, and up here we could say total pain, and up here no pain, right? And as we kind of climb the ladder of pain, it gets louder and louder and louder, right? We're going to a sports game, for example, and we're excited to see our team play, right? And we're enjoying it, and we're liking the popcorn. But there's a nail in our shoe. Every time we jump up and shout, it punches deeper into our foot. At some point, as the nail pierces and goes into our foot, at some point, the brain will tune out the game. The brain will tune out the food. The brain will tune out all the screaming people and say, I've got to devote 100% of my attention to stopping this pain now. And that's the pivot point. That's the pivot point when it's no longer about what food tastes the best. It's no longer about, what job makes me the most excited. It's no longer about discovering my talents and gifts. It's no longer about saving the planet or having a great friendship. It's all about pain management. And that's the point where the identity shifts, where the pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being shifts from forward positive focus to inward, self-absorbed pain focus, to getting away from pain. And this is a fundamental point of shift in the identity. So what brings it up there? So trauma, always. Anxiety about repeating irritants, depression about repeating irritants that can't be resolved, physiological exhaustion from all that anxiety, right? So all the different vectors at which different points of pain and frustration converge all center on this single pain point. This pattern of energy, which is so painful that we will do anything and everything to avoid it. Now our identity switches into coping and pain management. That's who I am. I am someone who wants to get rid of this pain. What am I doing? I'm doing anything I can to get rid of this pain. I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this. Now, what is this? First of all, what does this entail? What does it suggest that this is going on? Meaning, almost everyone in a modern world today has been in that state. Some have lived there since birth. Some have lived there since 6 years old. Some live there most of the time, but cover it up with a surface identity, right? Because part of what I do to manage pain, the pain of loneliness, the pain of rejection, is pretend that I'm not managing pain. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, right? So that's a pain management strategy. Because if I say everything is fucking horrible and it's hard to get out of bed every day, and you're a part of it because you don't want to see how horrible it is, you just want me to say it's fine so that you can get on with ordering your coffee, right? And that's painful too, and very lonely, understanding how committed the cult is to not seeing and not being seen. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So once that mode kicks in, where pain management is the underlying deity, because this is another, paradigm within which to frame this. We all worship what we value with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our money, our time, our natural resources. Those are prayers. What someone spends 8 hours a day doing is their prayer to what they value. They could be valuing conformity, they could be valuing money, they could be valuing security, they could be actually valuing their jobs. Some people actually enjoy their jobs. They could be valuing looking cool, but whatever they're doing with their time is a prayer in service to what they value. And those values could be getting ahead, saving up for a mountain bike, going on vacation, meeting a wonderful partner and having amazing sex. Those are constructive deities. But every constructive deity has a shadow, right? I worship the deity of love. I spend time searching for love. I talk about love. I write about love. I write poems about love. I search about love. Well, when the gap between our definition of love and love, because that's always where the gap is, right? Love is this, and my reality is this. I'm unloved, right? When the gap between our definition of love and love gets so big it's off the charts, I'm in pain. Pain is the separation from and longing for what we value, what we need. The separation from and longing for. I want to be loved, but I'm in pain. Now I worship the shadow god, which is screw love. What do I have to do to avoid the pain of not being loved? And here we have an array of options. One is, One is denial, right? It's not happening. It's going to change any minute, right? But that only lasts a few decades, right? You're going to find your soulmate after waiting 40 years, right? Fate is going to, the universe is going to deliver your soulmate, and by 77, 78, 79, oh, you're dead, I see. But then you will discover your soulmate. So, waiting for your soulmate in denial that anything's going wrong, it's all meant to be and all that can last a few decades. But, typically by the time you're 70, you're starting to wonder whether waiting around for 5 decades is really the best policy. You've got denial. You have addiction, right? I'm in amazing amounts of pain, but if I do this rapid behavior, this intense rapid behavior, I can forget about my pain and focus on something else. So addictions tend to be intense, sensory, narrow-band engagements with reality. I'll just go to work and work 12-hour days and come home exhausted and then go to work 12-hour days. And I don't have any time and energy to wonder where my soulmate is. So we have addiction. We have control as another strategy. If I could just stop the neighbors blowing. Why do they have to have these blowers? And, don't they know it's Sunday? And I've got to get rid of their blowers. What am I going to do? I can call the police. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do all these different things. If I could just control everything and everyone, my pain would go away, right? I would line everyone up. You could be one of my soulmates. You could be one of my soulmates. You could be one of my soulmates. Don't move. I'm kind of using my intuition here. If I could just control everything and everyone, then I would control everything and everyone in such a way that my pain wouldn't be brought up and I would be happy, right? And so, it's exhausting trying to control everything. And then people don't like being controlled. Most of them. Some of them do, right? But you don't want to be controlled, but I want to control. You're adding to my suffering over here. Please stop resisting. I'm just trying to manage my pain. And then we have embracing the wound and cultivating the wounded identity. I am pain, right? I am the forlorn lover. So now we're feeding on the dynamic, right? We're defining ourselves. So we're in pain, but we're defining ourselves and to a certain extent, savoring, enjoying the pain, right? I am the one who searches for love for many decades, but it is not to be. No, it's not to be, because, that's just who I am. That's my lot in life. That's my fate. So we have, kind of savoring the pain, which is a pain management strategy. Then we have despair, hopelessness, helplessness, which is basically incompetent responses to pain, right? It's far away. Why? Because no one, and including me, knows how to bridge the gap, right? I don't know how to create whatever it is that I'm calling my soulmate. And so I just, it's despairing. I try, I do this, I go online, then I go on this, and I never met my soulmate. And do it again. And so there's kind of a despairing kind of going out there trying to find what isn't there and not knowing what else to do, because despair correlates with incompetence. Right? If we knew what to do, all that effort would pay off. Right? So we don't know what to do that actually works. We know what to do that doesn't work, and so it doesn't pay off. So that's, so there we have another kind of pain management strategy. Another one is giving the pain to somebody else. So I open the door, there's more pain, right? The postman delivers more pain. Oh gosh, open this letter, it's painful. Open this box, that's not what I ordered. I opened this one. Oh gosh, this that looked good in the photo, but it's not good there. It's like, oh, I hate this. On bills, right? Here's what I have in the bank account. Here's the bill. Here's what I have in the bank account. Here's the bill. It's just more and more pain, right? Okay, carry. 3 kilos of pain today. Okay, I put it on the table here. I don't know what to do about it, right? But next day, someone gives me more pain, right? I haven't got enough space to just keep taking all this pain from people. Here, you have it. Why didn't you sort this out, right? So blame, shame, transference of various points. Projecting parent onto other people, like you take it. It's your fault, right? If you hadn't married me, we wouldn't have had this problem, right? And so, there we have a transference. I don't know what to do with it. It's too heavy. More comes in every day. Let's blame the dog. Let's blame the child for being born. Let's blame the postman. Like, don't you have anything other to do than deliver bills? Why don't you deliver some checks? Deliver some checks next time, or your services are not wanted. They show up again. It's like, oh, postman never listens to me. And so transference is a whole domain. Judgment is another kind of strategy because it numbs things. Because judgment creates verticality, right? You're bad, and I'm good. So we've just separated ourselves. We're no longer humans, right? I'm now good, and you're bad, and you deserve to be punished because you're bad, and I don't deserve to be punished because I'm not bad, right? So we are now numbing. We're dissociating from the group, from the species, with judgment. It's like, it's not my problem because you're bad. It's nothing to do with me. You're bad. I'm not. You are. So that blame, shame, judgment protocol is a righteousness, which can feel enervating rather than feeling depressing. Because what if we say that we don't know what we're doing? Oh, that's depressing, right? You're bad, and you need to figure out how not to be bad, or I'm not talking with you. What a wonderful way to solve a problem, right? So our cult, in its ultimate wisdom, gives incompetent parents the right to have as many children as they can have sex and produce with as many people as they want, as long as it's over 18 and consensual, right? Oh, you have 37 children. You have, and then demonstrates how to traumatize the children, but not how to prevent the trauma or heal the trauma that turns into PTSD. And then tells people when they go to ridiculous educational protocols that that's just what we do in this cult, put up and shut up and do what you're told and study algebra and all these things that nobody is particularly interested in. And be bullied and whatever and just deal with it. That's what it's like to be at school. And then things don't turn out very well, right? These become depressed, angry people who do things that I don't like. And then rather than say, well, maybe we could have a curriculum, a national curriculum for parents to read. Maybe a recommended curriculum, maybe not a forced curriculum, but based on the science, this is the thing you should probably know as a parent before having a child. You probably should know it. Did you bother to look at it or didn't you, right? We do not recommend you having a child if you haven't looked at this body of data. Let's be very clear. And if your kids are pissed at you because you did all the things that create systemic intergenerational abuse and you didn't want to look at the data, then, we can support the kids in understanding why they're so upset, right? How did they get so abused? With parents who were committed to not knowing even what they didn't know. They didn't even want to know what they didn't know. So they're committed to willful ignorance and systemic intergenerational abuse, right? So, but if we say this is our culture, And we're all the same people, basically, with different faces and different experiences. But, this is the cult that produces this assortment of people as a statistic, right? How many people do you think are incompetent as parents in our cult? 10%, 20, 80, 90? What's your definition of competence? Well, if you don't have a definition of competence for a good parent, and how many people don't have a definition of competence? Well, isn't that incompetent in and of itself? That you don't have a science-based, data-based definition of optimal parenting? You don't even know what it looks like? Because no one in your cult has ever showed you? Is that anything to do with you? Well, it certainly affects you. Well, will it change the next generation if you do absolutely nothing? Well, they've been doing this for thousands of years. So maybe this poor schmuck not doing the things you don't, you like and doing the things you don't like isn't bad. They're just a statistical probability that will keep going on for thousands of years until somebody in the cult decides to own the cult statistics and dynamics and do something about it. Maybe build an app on what does great parenting look like and have debates and maybe make billions of dollars and fund educational programs on television. Rather than buying advertisements for shampoo, buy advertisements for competent parenting and give it away for free. Is there anything stopping you doing that? Learn sales, learn startups, spend 20 years until you create a unicorn worth more than $1 billion, and then donate all your money to teaching competent parenting. And then maybe that bad person won't be quite as bad, or at least their child won't be. But that would take work and commitment and skill and effort and risk, and probably nobody would appreciate it. Stop telling me how to parent my children. That's all I get for all that, right? And then I wouldn't feel righteous. I would feel exhausted. And so rather than doing all of that and actually changing the world I'm complaining about, I'm just going to say, you're a bad person, and I'm not. And go fuck yourself, right? That's it. So that's a pain management strategy. You're bad. It's your problem. It's not. I'm not going to deal with it. And there's also tormenting other people, right? I'm miserable. I don't know how to get out. I'm absolutely fucking miserable. I'm miserable about this. I'm miserable about that. I'm miserable about this. I'm miserable about that. And all you guys out there, you're talking about how great our city is and how great our cult is and all the advancements is lengthening lifespan and prosperity ahead. Go fuck yourselves. I am going to enjoy your suffering. I'm going to set you up to fail. I'm going to enjoy watching you fail. I'm going to buy tabloids about all of these supposedly perfect people, how they're all failing and ruining, how their lives are ruined. Every bit of it. I want to know all the details about how everyone isn't better than me, right? And so, basically, I don't know how to get out of my pain, so I'd like to pull as many people into pain as possible, and I'd like to read about other people's pain so that I don't feel lonely and that I don't feel that my pain is all my fault. So that's another pain management. Another is not doing anything new or different. I'm not going to leave the house. I'm going to eat the same food every time. I'm not going to travel. I'm not going to meet new people. I'm going to say the same things and do the same things and stuff like that because I'm afraid it'll get worse, right? The unknown basically could be a place of even more pain, so I'm going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, protecting myself from the unknown because Last time I risked something, there was a lot of pain there. And then this other time I risked something, there was a lot of pain. I went out on a date once, and then he lied, and he dumped me, and did this, and romantic relationships are not for me. I'm not doing it. No. I'm going to watch television. They always say the same corny things, this and this and this. And I'm very safe. It's not going to hurt me if they break up and ruin their lives in soap operas, because I'm just watching it. My life is going to get small, and the other one is dissociation, right? I'm going to watch other people live their lives. I'm not going to live my life because it might be too painful. So I'm going to watch other people go for their dreams, and look at it. The despair on his face is priceless. It's crashing down, right? So that's a pain management strategy. Depression, right? It's too much to deal with. Let me just numb out. Pain management strategy, right? Not going to say this because then you'll be angry. And I don't want to deal with your anger. I'm not going to do this because then someone will complain. I don't want to deal with the complaint. I'm just going to stay in this little place and kind of veg out. There's also self-blame and self-criticism to dissociate from the painful part in ourselves. Well, you idiot, you shouldn't have done that. You dumb, look at you, you did this. Why do you always do this? To ourselves, right? We say, why do you always do this? You always wait till the last minute. Then you always rush. Then you get a ticket, which makes you even later. I mean, what are you thinking? You dumb idiot. It's your fault, we say to ourselves. It's your fault. Well, you shouldn't have done that, right? So it's the same mechanism. It's just dissociating from the frightened, traumatized parts of ourself and blaming them rather than helping them, right? It becomes a little bit more obvious that it's not a very effective technique when the appropriate answer to that question, why did you do this again? You always ruined my life, self, right? Is, okay, take over, right? You're so smart, you the critic, you're so smart, have at it. What would you like to do, critic? Well, don't do that again. You're a bit dumb, critic. I didn't ask you what not to do. I said what to do. You're rather stupid, aren't you, critic? Well, do this and do this. Okay, critic, have it. Take over the body, critic, and be perfect. No, I don't want to. Why? Because I'm scared, right? I want to wait until you fail and then blame and punish you. I pretend I know everything after the fact, says the critic. But so why don't you do it, right? Oh, people are so dumb. They would never appreciate me. Okay, well, figure it out. Are you so dumb that you can't get people to appreciate you? Oh, no, it's not my fault, right? So the critic waits until everything goes wrong and then celebrates and blames and shames ourself or other people. It doesn't matter. But, it's ultimately a bit of a coward, right? You invite any of your friends who are criticizing you, come in and do this and this and this differently and understand the dynamic and heal it, right? No, it's just easier to say you're being inappropriate and blame you for that. So we have secrets, right? Doesn't look good to be in pain, right? We're supposed to be positive. So pain management, everything's fine. My life is going wonderful. Oh gosh, when are they going to find out how horribly depressed and lonely I am? But don't admit it, right? So that's another approach. And all of these approaches are ways to avoid pain. And they're tiring, they're exhausting, they don't work. None of them heal the pain. The only thing that heals the pain is understanding the pain. First of all, what is pain? Pain is the separation from and longing for something we deeply value and or need. If I'm separated from a red balloon, I'm not in pain, right? Do I need a red balloon? No. But if I'm separated from love and belonging, I need love and belonging. It's a need. Mammals need it, humans being need it. I need it. and I don't have it, right? I'm going to be in a lot of pain around that. If all of my dreams of being my favorite self, the one that I would like to be, just drift away, and I just get further and further from my dreams every single year as I get fatter and fatter watching TV instead of doing the things that would propel me in that direction, I feel pain. So I need to develop my gifts and talents. Not my gift and talent for watching TV, but my gift and talent for growing and healing and learning what I'm good at and finding plays to help people and play a role in my cult. So these are some of the patterns we use to manage pain when we're in massive amounts of pain we don't respond to. But the only thing that's usually not on that list in a psychologically illiterate culture is, first of all, identifying the pain. I'm in pain because I need this and I don't have it. I'm in pain because I long for this and I don't have it. That's obvious, so make your list. I don't have it because I don't know what I'm doing, and the people around me don't know what they're doing either. Now, why do you say that? Well, it's perfectly obvious, right? Let's imagine that you could flip a switch and nobody around you would have any pain in the world. Would you want to live in a world where people were excited, happy, collaborative, trusting, productive? Or would you rather live in a world where people are so much in pain they'll sell a kid to get drugs, to just numb the pain for a few hours? Which world do you enjoy living in? Well, in a psychologically illiterate world, there's a lot of sociopathic tendencies. And so as a sociopath, you may be so convinced that you cannot be happy that the best thing would be to enjoy other people's suffering. But that just means you don't know what you're doing, which is nothing personal, right? Why would you know what you're doing in a cult that is as systematically dismissive of the inner world, of heart, mind, and body, and hangs on desperately to a failing cult? Like, a cult is like a rotting ship that's slowly sinking and pulling people down. But people hang on to it because it's family, it's familiar. It's the cult, it's the norm, it's the known. If you jump ship and go out into the unknown, you could die. You could be traumatized. You could face more pain, right? And probably you would initially, right? So let's stay on the sinking ship rather than dive into cold water and make our way to something else, or, take a lifeboat and, head off to a warmer climate. So responding to pain is competent. Now, if you're in pain and you're surrounded by people and your pain is not getting better, it means they are incompetent. Because if they're smart, they want you to be pain-free. If they're sociopathic, it means they're incompetent, because it's not as fun to be sociopathic as it is to be loving, generous, magnanimous. It just takes more skill. To be loving, energized, magnanimous takes more skill than to be sociopathic. Right? It takes a deeper connection with self. And so the people around you do not know what they're doing any more than you do if you're in massive amounts of chronic and unnecessary pain. So you're not going to teach them how to heal pain when you can't heal your own pain. They're not going to teach you how to heal pain if they haven't done it yet, right? For example, if the cult shames you for asking for help, but could help you if you were willing to endure the shame of asking for it, that's a dysfunctional cult. Because what it's really saying is, if you do the thing that will work, we'll shame you. And that's what we do in this cult. If you ask for help, you will be looked at with contempt. It's a statistical probability. It's greater than 50%. This isn't my problem. Go solve your own problems. That's not help. If I knew how to do that, I would have done it, right? And if I had grown up in a cult that had taught me, I would have been doing it a long time ago. But it's a little bit hypocritical to say, let's give you lots of role models on how to fail, be an addict, be miserable, be a chauvinist, be a racist, and be lazy. Okay, good. And then let's traumatize you and increase your dysfunctionality. And then let's put you to work in a job you don't like and flood you with lies and commercials and all of this stuff. And then when that doesn't feel very good, why don't you copy your role models that didn't know how to do anything? And then if you ask for help, we'll make sure you know that you're weak and bad. And if you don't ask for help, well, it's not my business. It's your own life, right? That's profound dysfunctional incompetence, and it's all around us, right? It's all around us. So, it's nothing to be proud of that you're the most ignorant person. No, you're not. You're surrounded by ignorance. You're surrounded by stupidity. You're surrounded by cruelty. You're surrounded by self-hatred. An incompetent cult cannot raise a majority of highly competent people. There's always the exception that manage to escape through the cult's maze, right? The cult planned this. First, we'll give birth in a traumatizing hospital. Oh, we didn't ruin their lives then? Okay, well, then we'll send them to kindergarten and they can be bullied. Oh, they're still happy? Well, send them through the rest of school. That probably will do it for most of them. They still have any interest in learning? Nah, 98% of them killed off psychologically, right? Little interest. And then give them a job that's absolutely destructive and meaningless. An attorney would be a good one, right? Or, a banker. And your job is to not give money to anyone who needs money and to give lots of money to people who don't need money, and to slap expensive late fees on people who can't afford them, and lots of bonuses and points to people who don't need them. And that's your job. Do that for 30 years, and make sure that you send debt collectors on the people who absolutely can't pay the debt, right? Just to make sure that they feel shame and humiliation. And you feeling happy yet? Oh, we finally crushed you, right? Oh, this one got through the cracks. He left high school. He started a company he actually liked. Maverick, weirdo. Don't be like them. Do what you're told, right? And so, that's obvious. I mean, did you design that whole system? No, you have as good a chance of changing and fixing that system personally in your family and otherwise as anyone else, right? And you have as good a chance as failing as anyone else, right? As a statistic, right? So, it's not all that personal that these things are going on. But as you really grasp these things, it can be energizing or it can be more painful to say, I'm too tired to school my own children. So I'm sending them into the system knowing that the educational system generates, more than 90% of the students have very little interest in learning and are dulled down by the time they leave, and they haven't learned many useful life skills. You don't learn how to drive a car in school. You don't learn sales in school. You don't learn how to fuck and have transcendent orgasms in school. You don't learn how to give terrific massages, and you don't learn how to become best friends. You learn how to betray people and tease the vulnerable. You don't learn shit at school. And much more importantly, you're blockaded with all the homework and stuff from learning useful stuff. If you're too tired and you just give your kid over to that and they hate it and you understand, but you're too tired to do anything about it, that's painful, right? So it takes competence to respond to all this pain. The ability to think, the ability to notice things, the ability to, logically construct what's going on based on patterns, ability to gather statistical information. Then what do you do with it as just one person whose landlord's hammering for another rent increase? What do you do with all that information? Right? You can't solve the problem that is created by incompetency with the level of competency that is creating the problem in the first place. As if you were smart enough to know how to fix all this, you wouldn't be in that pickle, in all that pain in the first place. So what's needed is massive amounts of competency. And it starts with the belief that it could be better. Next comes the awareness that in order for it to be better, I have to learn to do things and think things and say things and do things that I'm not doing and that I probably have not seen other people doing. I've got to find people that actually know what I want to learn. Oh, here's a person who can feel joy in all kinds of ways that I can't. Let me learn something from her. How do you do that? How do you look at the world? Oh, I see. Maybe I could learn something from you. So it takes humility. It takes knowing that to find the healing that is not the norm, you have to be different. You don't get to a different location driving on the same road as everyone else. If you want a different location, if you want to arrive where everyone else is arriving, then fine. But if you want a different location, you have to take a different road. You have to figure out what's on in that road. Some roads lead to a dead end. Some roads don't go where you need. You have to explore. You have to see who's traveled these roads before. You might read some books like, so-and-so went down this road and then it went here and here. And it's like, I'm not going to take that road. But so-and-so did this and this and this, and then it led here. I'm going to do that road, right? But you also have to understand statistics, right? Just because one person in Las Vegas won $1 million doesn't mean you should rush off to Vegas and bet $1,000. One person did that, right? 99% came away with nothing, right? So you have to statistics, and you have to place bets that actually work. Now, to be in chronic pain that you don't know how to solve is depressing. When you are in chronic pain, that you will do anything to manage, you will betray the people you love, your future, and yourself, right? Cocaine, opium, they're good pain management strategies. But they will destroy your marriage in the long run. And an addict is always more loyal to their drug than to any other person. Because if they were truly loyal to the other person, they wouldn't take the drug that undermines the relationship, that makes them less reliable, that makes them less empathic. They wouldn't do it. An addict is loyal to pain management over any other relationship, which means they will at times betray every relationship in their life to manage pain. Right? Perfectly obvious, right? So you can't take those kinds of drugs without a cost. So you've got a betrayal issue there, and you've got to stop that, which means you've got to figure out how to endure the pain enough while you figure out how to heal it, right? And that may take some time. You may have to read 100 books on how people have healed pain and take notes and do a few of them and just inch your world into a better place. So that's the response. But if you don't, if you watch yourself betraying the people you love the most, betraying the job opportunity again and again, if you watch that and you don't change it because you're an addict, it's depressing. But it's also unlovable. Now, here's what I mean. In the abstract, there is something in someone that could love all. That's called unconditional love, right? And it's thrown around a lot, but I've never met an unconditionally loving person. Because even if people feel unconditional love for a moment, they stop feeling unconditional love when their child is being raped in front of their eyes, right? I'm chanting, right? Kumbaya, kumbaya, kumbaya. Oh, looking around, this is so wonderful. I love you all unconditionally. Well, that, first of all, means you love everyone who has ever been, including Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin, Saddam Hussein. I mean, it's not unconditional love to say that I love you on the condition that you are not Saddam Hussein. That's pretty conditional, right? I mean, if I was Saddam Hussein, you wouldn't love me. No, I wouldn't. Well, that's not unconditional love. So I've never met anyone with unconditional love, but that's not to say that it isn't possible for consciousness of a certain scale and maturity and grace and talent to love everything. It's a very competent position to be, to love everything unconditionally. So people love things conditionally. And for example, I will not be in relationship with somebody who lies to me. You said this, and this, and you lied. Yeah, but no, you lied. Now you did it again. You are blocking transparency, trust, which means you're blocking vulnerability, which means you're making me make mistakes because you said this, I did this, but this doesn't touch you because you're actually lying. I needed to do this because you did this, but I did this because you said you did this. We're not in a relationship, we're in a lie. So until you learn how to have integrity, I'm not going to be in a relationship with you. Now, you could say that's a loving thing to do, or you could say that you cannot love when you're not engaging in any active way. You can make up your mind, but it's certainly not, unconditional loving. And so people who are managing pain and their number one goal is to reduce pain are going to be rude sometimes, are going to break promises sometimes, are going to betray sometimes, are going to addict sometimes, are going to collapse sometimes. They're going to do whatever they need to do to manage their pain is what it boils down to. And some of the things that you do to manage pain, you don't like at all. You look at it, you say, if someone was that way to me, if I knew that I was stealing money from the safe to buy cocaine, if I knew that, if I was my boss and I knew that I was doing that, I wouldn't love me, I would fire me, right? If I knew that I was doing this and this, I don't like that. I couldn't love me if I was on the other side of me. Which means that as far as I'm concerned, because our beliefs, we tend to project ourselves on the world. So if I couldn't love me, if I can't love me, if I despise me, then it's, for an arrogant person, it's very hard to imagine that anyone else could love me. I'm not lovable because I don't love myself, which means that no intelligent person, that's the arrogance, would possibly love me. So now I become unlovable. If I'm unlovable, I'm depressed. But also, other people may not love me, right? I may say I've got endless excuses of, why it's not fair and this and that, and I needed to steal this and I needed to lie that. And don't you understand why I had to sleep with your best friend, you dumb fuck, you know? You were busy and I needed to manage my pain. Why don't you get it? It is, I mean, if you had been there, it was nothing personal. I needed pain relief and your sister was available. What don't you understand, right? Well, you may find that perfectly understandable, but they may not. And then if they don't love you and they don't love you and they refuse to talk to you and they do, then the belief may think, I thought I was perfect, but I guess I'm unlovable because this person and this person isn't loving me. And I'm not even loving myself enough to be honest about what's going on. So you've got an intersection with unlovability, which is also depressing. The thing we need more than almost anything else is love and belonging. It's the thing we miss more than almost anything else. It's the thing we do all these things for. I get all this money so I can do my teeth so that people will love me. So I do this, I buy these clothes so that people will say, what great. I want love and belonging, and I don't have it. I've got, envy, I've got this, I've got that, I've got people not noticing me. I want love and belonging, I don't have it. It's depressing. It's exhausting, and that's depressing, right? So there's an intersect. And there's also huge overlap with trauma, because trauma is usually the linchpin in the pivot from focusing powerfully and constructively about the future to managing pain. Trauma is the thing that no ego can deal with alone. So in the cult of the individual, it's not my problem, it's not my problem, it's not my problem. That just means a cult that is riddled with trauma that nobody knows how to solve because it needs help. You need to solve shame and you need to solve trauma together. You need to heal PTSD together. Well, how can you do that in a traumatically illiterate cult? You can't. So that's depressing. That's a cult that doesn't know how to love itself. That's unlovability. So you have this very strong intersection between identity, as the identity shifts from forward motion to backward motion and avoiding pain, with depression, as more and more pain becomes probable in the future, which is depressing. Pain and loneliness, the loneliness of being in this amount of helplessness, pain, misery, and nobody knows what to do about it. I feel all alone here, because nobody will talk to me about all this pain. Have you ever had this conversation with anyone? I've had it maybe once or twice, but never in this way, and never with the person coming back for more, right? If I've ever talked with someone for 1 or 2 hours about all this stuff, I've never met a person in my cult that said, this is incredible. This is just what we need to be talking about. You've said exactly some of the things that were on my mind. This is exactly what I need to learn about. Let's meet tomorrow and talk about it for 4 hours, right? No, it's never happened, because we're into avoidance as pain management. Because an incompetent person doesn't look at all this and say, I know what to do there, let's get on it and change it. An incompetent person says, oh my God, I don't know what to do here. Let's avoid the conversation. Well, we can't do that because Dane keeps talking about it. We'll avoid Dane, right? We'll just get rid of him. And now we can go back to discussing the faults of the president or of the boss or all the people that aren't present, right? The stuff that we can't do much about, right? That's what we'll do, right? Oh, well, that's depressing. That's lonely, right? I'm lonely that I'm talking to a camera instead of a human being that wants to know this stuff. Because none of the neighbors are coming around. None of the family members are coming around. Knock, knock, knock. Do you have some pain you'd like to talk about? Yes, I do. Well, we are busy right now, See you later. That's depressing, right? That's lonely. That's unloving and unlovable on all sides, right? And so that's, and it's traumatic, right? It's traumatic. It's traumatizing to be ostracized because you lose your identity of love and belonging. It's traumatizing to be raped, to be betrayed, to be fired, to be all these things that shatter our identity. And when that happens too many times, we start wondering, when's it going to happen next? When's it going to happen next? And it's no longer about the wonder and innocence of the world. And so this is the calamity. This is the crisis that we as a cult, that we as a family, that we as an individual, that I as an individual, this is the calamity. That I am intelligent enough to cause, intelligent enough to experience, and intelligent enough to participate in, but not yet intelligent enough to heal, right? Because I'm in pain right now, and I have the intelligence to talk about it, but not to heal it. Now, there's a little bit of healing of depression by expressing rather than repressing. There's a little bit of healing of loneliness, but not much, right? Because there are a lot of people in our cult who will listen to all of this and find 5 things to judge about me so that they don't have to feel my pain. That's called sociopathic, it's called incompetence, but what do you expect, right? That's what this cult produces. Sociopathic incompetence, right? So there's a little bit less loneliness, right? But not much, right? And, there's a little bit of hope that, one day some people might listen to some of this and learn something, right? A little bit, right? But how many people wouldn't prefer to watch Mr. Beast put $1 billion of pennies in his backyard? A lot more interesting than having to listen to all these things that we don't know what to do with, that are painful, right? What would 1 billion pennies be? That'd be so interesting. I'm sure somebody's working on it right now. Well, that's depressing. 1 billion pennies is more important than transforming key elements of chronic suffering in the majority of human beings? Yes, if you don't believe you can do anything about it and you want a diversion to forget about what you can't do anything about, right? But that's depressing to believe you can't do anything about it, right? And so this is an intersection. So I'm going to put this video on the areas exploring loneliness, identity, trauma, and depression, and unlovability. Because when we are managing pain, we do things that are good in the short term for quick pain release, like have an affair, but are bad in the long term in that they destroy our children's lives and our parents and this and all that, right? That's not, when you're in so much pain that you have to do something in the short run that increases your pain in the long run, that's not very intelligent, right? And it's not very loving to you or your kids or anyone else to do that. Now, I'm not getting into the fact that, I think it's perfectly fine for people to say, I'm in absolute misery in marriage. I don't know what to do about this. You don't know what to do with this. So, let's be friends, but in an open sexual relationship. And let's see if anyone else knows what they're doing, in relationship. I don't, you don't. It's not good for the kids for us to be a martyr. I'm not talking about, staying in a box. I'm talking about breaking trust. Saying I would never do that, and then doing it because that eased your pain for a few seconds, right? That's stupidity. That's not love. That's stupidity. when we do stupid things at a certain threshold of stupidity, we don't love ourselves by doing them. We don't love ourselves for doing them. And nobody else does either. They're furious. Why did you ruin a perfectly good marriage for one stupid evening of boredom relief? It's not an effective remedy, right? But you don't learn effective remedies in a psychologically illiterate cult. You learn stupid remedies from stupid people who learned stupid remedies from stupid people. And you stay stupid until you bring psychological literacy into high school, until you bring sex into high school, until you bring the science of long-term sustainable relationships by John Gottman and other things into high school. You stay stupid until you have enough intelligence to stop being stupid, right? And so, that's where we are. But knowing that we are a stupid cult in many ways, that has been very stupid for hundreds or thousands of years, is it exciting to go out and hear what the latest person is doing in their marriage, right? And so that is why an intelligent person wants to live in a world where everyone's happy, where everyone's competent, where everyone's successful. And that's ultimately what competence looks like here, right? If you start reading more books, if I start learning from more mentors, right, that might be one thing to do. Who in the world knows how to be happy? Have we ever Googled that? I never have. That's probably something I'll do at the end of this video. Take care.